Hey everyone, it's Ben Cicchini back with another episode of the Give and Grow podcast. This is our social emotional learning series, directly here to support parents, teachers, and any adults that are looking to raise healthy, loving human beings. Today we have Dr. Jennifer Roberts, licensed professional counselor, assistant professor of clinical mental health counseling with 20 years of experience in elementary, high school counseling, and so much other experience. Jennifer, we're super excited to have you here today on the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. So let's dive right in. Once again, this is for any adults looking to just better understand social emotional learning, mental health, those sorts of things. How can parents help children identify and label their emotions, just as one of those questions right off the bat?
Yeah. Oh man, emotional literacy is so important. Because our kids need to be able to describe how they're feeling so that we as grown-ups can assist them in that web of emotions and whatnot. And one of the things that I share with parents early on is songs. There are wonderful
Mm.
emotion songs that help kids label emotions in a fun, engaging kind of way when they're not all tangled up in a knot. So
Mhm.
if they know, hey, blue, the color blue, for example, I'm blue, I'm kind of sad. I'm going to build a vocabulary to where I can come up to you and I may not know to say I'm sad, but I've sung the song or I know what that looks like, and I can come up to my mom or dad and say, I think I'm blue today. Oh, then I know how to respond to you and give you what you need in that moment. Or if I see somebody that is a kiddo, one of the things is orange is confident, and so I can see a kiddo that tried something, and I'd say, "Oh, you look really orange today," and they know the symbol of confidence, and it just reaffirms that self-efficacy in that capacity, but it gives them a vocabulary
Mhm.
to be able to communicate to grown-ups how they're feeling. Because what they don't do, and what kids never do, is they come up to your mom or dad and go, I'm feeling rather dysregulated today. It comes out sideways. They have a temper tantrum, they shut down, they do whatever. And so when we can build an emotional vocabulary for kids and help them with that, we really put them in the driver's seat to in that first line of defense, then to know what to do with those emotions when they come up. So there are books, there are songs, tap in YouTube, there tap into a lot. There's a really cute one. I'm a little scribble spot. It's amazing, but use those. I mean, I don't know how many of us know songs that we can sing from our childhood. Trust me, it sticks.
Right, right. It
Yeah.
truly does. It truly does. And I love that. One of my favorite parts about this whole series is that simple question, how can parents help identify and label emotions? There's such a variety of answers, but this is the first time anybody's ever mentioned like songs and the
Oh,
color thing,
yeah.
and so just to pick your brain, is there a specific song that helps them identify like the associate the colors with the emotions? Is that where that's coming from?
Yeah, so it is. It's I'm a little scribble spot
I'm a
song
little
on
scribble spot.
YouTube, and there's ones there's books that go with that. One of the things that I love about this particular author and her work is that a scribble is messy. It's not perfect.
Mm.
Life isn't perfect. We make mistakes. We're not all this, in a inside the lines. Life is outside the lines, and
Mhm.
so aligning with, hey, I'm not always perfect. It's just a great way to normalize, hey, there's ups and downs in life. And sometimes
Yeah.
we're happy and sometimes we're sad. And we can be a little scribble spot if we want to.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for dropping that in right off the bat. And actually, it really aligns with the work we do with Give and Grow. We try to incorporate music, and I've written like original raps to share and break down some of these skills so they can be memorable. So whether it's a rhyme, whether it's a song, the videos that you mentioned, those are really going to help these skills and this information stick with the kids. Love that. What are some effective ways to teach children about emotional regulation? They learn I'm a blue, I'm orange. How can they
Right.
how can they manage that?
Yeah, so for parents, I want to take a step like a little bit back and give them some background. This is the nerdy side of me, so hang with me here. Is that kiddos need there's something called felt safety, and so they don't need to know that they're safe. They need to feel that they're safe,
Mm,
and a lot of times behavior will be an indication of felt safety, and so. One of the ways, a couple of ways that you can help create felt safety with kids is one, never miss an opportunity to tell them how amazing they are,
mm,
even in the most mundane things. And two things, eye level. And if you can hold their hands, if you can have that element of touch and just look at them in the eye and say, you're just an amazing kid, and I just love you so much. The
mhm,
touch and the eye contact, along with the words, communicate at a different level.
mm,
It's just really they feel it, they don't just hear it. The other thing is I want to go back to that emotional regulation that we talked about. One of the things that in when I work with schools, when I work with kiddos in my office, I have a row of colors. I also have a row of faces, depending on
mm,
where we are in our emotional literacy. And I'll just ask them, "Hey, where are you? Where are you right now? How are you doing right now?" And they can tell me whatever their emotion is in the moment. And I may say, "Do you need an extra hug?"
mm,
And they may say, "Yeah." I say, "Okay, let me give you an extra hug." With having that emotional conversation and building that capacity, you're providing an opportunity to ask a question that organically wouldn't come up. And
mhm,
yet they may need that extra support, and you've normalized the fact that that's okay. And so creating that felt safety
mm,
um, is really the beginning of that emotional regulation tool set that you want to have. And so I also want to say that for parents, and let me just say, they're all doing a great job.
yes.
Parenting is not for the faint of heart. They are all doing a great job. And the beautiful thing is we get to start over every day. As a
Mhm,
parent myself, I have days that I was really proud and days that I was like, oh my goodness, I hope nobody ever saw that.
right.
Um, but there are three levels of regulation that we really work with, and one is where I somebody does it for me, right? So that's where I'll use potty training as an example. We're always reminding kids, hey, go to the bathroom, or hey, do this, right? So we have to regulate, we have to do it for them.
Mhm,
Where we find most parents is in that co-regulation and then self-regulation. And co-regulation says, I need somebody to help me do it. So a kiddo may say, I want that toy that Johnny has, but I know I can't get it. So I'm going to go get the grown-up to say, I want that toy. So there's an
mhm,
awareness. I want something before there's a meltdown. I need a parent or somebody to come help me. And then
mm,
there's, hey, I want something. I'm going to make another choice until that happens. So I'm going to be able to regulate on my own. So we
mm,
really, most of the time, live between that co-regulation, always wanting to move to that self-regulation point. You have to remember kids, young kids, and even up until early adolescence, um, there's always going to be that need to co-regulate with your kid.
mm, mm,
And you just have to know that
mm,
they don't have the life experiences yet to be able to do that. And so consistency and predictability are a parent's best friend.
mm,
When kids are dysregulated, they're doing their job. They're testing the boundaries. And it's
mm,
our job as parents to be those loving boundaries. And
mhm,
sometimes that's not easy. And so when there is dysregulation, what I'm going to share with you, these techniques and tips, you want to have these conversations when life is good,
mm,
not when the wheels have fallen off, because you're building those resources and that resiliency up front so that when you need to pull them out of your toolbox, they know what that is. So one of the best things that I could share with parents is we have a regulation station in my house for my grandchildren. In our classrooms, we had those. Some people call them calm down corners, whatever it is.
mhm,
But when life was good, when it's happy, we say, hey, this is a place when you feel blue, when you're a blue dot, or whenever that is, or when you just need to relax or calm down, or maybe you just want some time away from your brother or sister or whatever it is.
Mm.
Um, this is your special place. And so, what could be in this special place that would help you feel good? Well, I have granddaughters, and so plush toys,
Uh-huh.
soft and anything pink is in that corner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that is that bridge between I know what I need and being able to understand I am now moving into I'm able to self-regulate. If
Mm-hmm.
they say, Nana, I need to go to the calm down corner, rock on. You are
Right.
self-regulating and I'm building skills. So
Mm-hmm.
things like a calm down corner. The other thing that I want to just remind parents is that when our kids are dysregulated, a lot of times they're pushing our buttons too.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get a little dysregulated. Like, I'm not going to tell you for the umpteenth time, or you shouldn't
Yeah.
take that from your brother or sister, or we. And our bodies have these things called mirroring neurons,
Mm.
and so we are wired to reflect what's coming at us.
Mm.
So if we are heightened in our agitation, and we've got a little person or a teenager that's agitated, that's a recipe for a lose-lose proposition.
Mm-hmm.
And so when our kids are dysregulated, I tell parents we practice this going low and going slow.
Mm.
Their processing of what we're telling them is compromised in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Their limbic system is large and in charge. But if I drop my tone and I speak a little slower, let's let their biology work for us in that mirroring neuron capacity.
Mm.
Well, there will be always a time, as I'm sharing this, I want you to know that this is not the absence of consequences. This is
Mm-hmm.
not the absence of rules. This is knowing where is the right time, because there will always be a right time to
Mm-hmm.
have that conversation where the behavior changes versus being right in that moment
Mm.
and causing a greater conflict. So I have purposely kept my cadence at a certain level, at a certain pace. And you talk to kids when they're like that, and they will come down.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I'm going to tell you that I'm sure you're going to be like, woo, is movement,
Oh
movement,
yeah.
movement, movement, right? So, again, resourcing your kids with these great fun things to do when it's good, so that when they're dysregulated, you can use them.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime you engage, you know this, anytime you engage your large muscle masses, you're firing off endorphins
Mm.
and you're helping that natural elevator in those neurochemicals in our body begin to fire off. So when I would get called down to a classroom or whatnot when a child had flipped desk, it turned the classroom upside down, whatever, right? If I could get them to just walk with me, we don't have to say a word, but we start walking, right? I
Mm-hmm.
am engaging those large muscle masses. I am giving that body that time for that limbic system to disengage. And then there's a time to have that conversation. One of the things that kids loved to do was wall sits.
Ah, no. That's
Yeah.
so funny
So
because in athletics, it's like, oh no, like wall
I know,
sits.
I know. But if you make it fun, like, okay, let's do this. And I always exaggerate it as, I always say, don't you let this old lady sit longer than you
Uh-huh,
can. Oh
uh-huh,
my gosh.
uh-huh.
And then
That's funny.
when it was good, I would really ham it up like, oh, and they'd start laughing, of course. And then if laughter, juices up the endorphins too. But I am
Mm-hmm.
firing off those quads
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting a little sore and whatnot, but it helps disengage that limbic system, helps
Mm-hmm.
get our kids to a point to where we can have some conversations on how to do better,
Mm-hmm.
and what that looks like. I think I'm going to say this because I say this to parents all the time, but don't be so caught up in winning the battle that you lose the war. There
Mm-hmm.
will always be a time to address the infraction at a calmer moment, and that's where behavior change happens.
Mm, that's, I mean, so many powerful things that you just shared in there. I always try to summarize them up, but one of the things that's coming to mind for me that I just want to like clarify when you mentioned the limbic system, can you just share the basics of that, like what that
Oh,
is, so
yeah.
we're all understanding?
Yes, 100%. So, and we use this our hands. So, at the base of your brain is what they call the reptilian brain, and that's where your basic, like I can breathe, my heart functions, all the basic, your autonomic nervous system is in here. In the center is your limbic system, and this is where we always say fight, flight, or freeze
Okay.
resides, right? And so there's a great quote that says dysregulated behavior, which is happening here. We're taking our bodies are taking in sensory data and it's determining, hey, it's what's happening, friend or foe. Am I getting my
Mm,
way or am I not? Is this person nice to me? How am I perceiving all of that sensory information? And if I think, I don't know, then all of a sudden the top part of my brain, which is logic and reasoning, goes offline.
mm,
And this part of the brain is large and in charge. And we are responding emotionally and not logically
mm,
because it's offline. And so there's a saying that says dysregulated behavior is the language of an unmet need.
mm. Yes.
And yeah, and so if we take a posture of curiosity to say, I wonder what this kid's behavior is trying to tell me
Mm-hmm.
versus I'm in a power struggle,
Mm-hmm.
the chances of you having a positive outcome are so much greater than if I just hear the yelling, the tantrum, the curse words, whatever it is coming
Right.
at me. I just need to say, this kiddo, and this is biologically true, this kiddo is working from here. It's working
Right.
from that limbic system. It neurologically cannot access
Mm-hmm.
logic and reasoning. And
Mm-hmm.
oh, by the way, in this prefrontal cortex, empathy resides here. So
Mm-hmm.
if I am living here and I'm saying, you know better, this is not like you. What is wrong with you? You need to ask. They can't access that in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding what that behavior is screaming at us versus what they're saying or whatnot
Right.
puts you in a position to respond differently.
Yes, that is so powerful. I really appreciate you breaking that down. I feel like that awareness is key to being able to like having the motivation to start making some of these changes. And as you were talking, what kept coming to mind is that friend foe. You know, you were mentioning low and slow. This rhyme is too much for me. I have to acknowledge that there's a massive like bar here.
Yeah, yeah.
So the low and slow is the opposite of foe, right? That's your friend tone. That's going to help them access that limbic
That's right.
system, and that's just like a beautiful connection that I'm realizing as you're talking here.
Yeah. And also in that movement. So if I am if
Hmm.
I have literally had children that were so angry, I wasn't sure if they were going to punch me or not, right? And so we're walking and I'm saying we don't have to talk. I just need you to walk with Dr. Roberts. Let's just walk. And in that proximity to them, there is a connection and there's no judgment and I'm not yelling and so that kiddo's body is the mirroring neurons are feeding off of me. They're
Mm-hmm.
getting out of their limbic system. It's allowing that reason part of the brain to come back online so that when I can have the conversation, it's a meaningful conversation and not a power struggle. The other thing,
Yeah.
Ben, I want to share with parents that most people don't know is that, again, we're having our biology work for us. Salty foods are excitatory to our nervous system,
Mm.
and sweeter foods are actually calming to our nervous system. So when I have a dysregulated kid, one of the things that they're going to get from me is a little bottle of water because hydration helps sort of flush out some of those neurochemicals that
Mm,
are flooding our bodies.
mm.
And a little bag of, I have little organic gummies. There's gummy bears. They're like, I don't know, five or six in a thing. And so while they're while they're calming down, I'm giving them water and I'm giving them a little bit of a sweet snack that's going to trigger that system because that the research says that the just slightly sweeter snacks actually help shut off cortisol.
Wow.
And
Wow.
so, you come into Dr. Roberts' office and all of my kids know I'm gonna grab a bottle of water and a thing of gummy bears, and then we can sit down and talk. And it's just again, the little things that kind of all
Mm,
add up to
mhm.
help kids in regulating their bodies.
Yeah, it's truly, it seems like such the simplest things that you're mentioning. A little water, a little sweet snack, a walk,
Yeah,
right? A lower tone, a slower tone. Like these are small adjustments that I can totally see, especially when you break down the functionality and chemistry of the brain and the body, that just like
yeah.
how supportive these are to regulating. And then
Mhm.
you add in the ability for them to go into their own space. Even I don't know, I'm just imagining a calming corner with little pack
Yes,
of gummies and a little water over there too. And it's like, hey, these
absolutely.
are just in the spot, and now they're using these tools by themselves, and you're setting them up for success.
You
Um,
are, and again, just by those actions, you are helping facilitate that co-regulation to self-regulation organically.
mhm,
And that
mm,
also helps build self-efficacy. I can. When I know that I feel a certain way, I can go sit down and feel better. I can
mhm,
do this. I can,
mhm.
so yeah,
Yeah, that's beautiful. And truly there's something else around the like right and wrong power struggle. Like I can see that coming up in my own life. I can see how that energy is triggering that limbic system, the fight, fight,
yeah.
freeze. Like it's like, okay, this person is trying to beat me. They're trying to overcome me, even just if it's trying to get on the same page or trying to get a behavior to change or whatever it is. I can see that being really ineffective, even though I feel it's many of our defaults to go to that
Sure.
right wrong game. Do you have
Right.
any tips for like parents that might not be showing up, in the friend way, and it's more of a faux energy that's showing up to start making shifts?
So ask me that question again. I'm not sure I fully understand.
Yeah, so like if it is our default to
Yeah.
show up in that right or wrong conversation with our child, our teen, whoever it is, how can we start
Okay.
to notice that and show up differently
Yes.
in an effective way?
Absolutely. Okay, I get you now.
Yeah.
So here, when, maybe your heart rate gets elevated or you get agitated, you get irritated. And I think what I tell parents a lot is when you know your buttons are being pushed, and we know when our buttons are being pushed,
Hmm.
and let me just break here and pause. Um, Usually I get from parents, they're just manipulative. They're just manipulating. They know better. They know better. Um,
Mm,
Manipulation in and of itself is actually a coping strategy. So that behavior is trying to tell
mhm,
us that they need something different. They need
mhm,
something else. We have to be curious about that. Again, not the absence of consequences, the absence of rules, but instead of seeing it as a power struggle between the authoritative figure and the kid, saying, okay, I got to be smarter than the average bear here and figure out what is it that they need. But when you
mhm,
start to feel that, it is so wonderful to model for your kids. You know what? Mama needs to push pause here for a second.
mm,
I want to have a really important conversation with you, um, because there's some things that I don't think we've made some of the best choices.
mhm,
Um, but I think I need to push pause and maybe take a few deep breaths before I have that conversation. And
mm,
so, there's a thing in education. We can't expect kids to do X if we haven't modeled it. And
mm,
so having the opportunity to model that with your kids, when you start to feel that, there is nothing wrong with pushing pause
mhm,
um, for a brief moment, um, to where you can have that conversation. You haven't lost by pushing pause.
Hmm.
Really, what you've done is you have taken control back of the situation to
Hmm.
where if behavior change is ultimately your goal, then that's really going to be the best way to get you there.
Hmm.
But it's just that awareness. Now, let me just say that I know that there may be some parents that listen to this and go, well, you don't know my life. Um, so I worked two jobs as my kiddos were growing up, and I will tell you, I was one tired mama a lot.
Hmm.
And so I started with this podcast. You get to start over every day. It's just trying to build that consistency and predictability. And sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we need a do-over.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm so appreciative of, once again, the simple cue of just taking that pause. It can feel
Yeah.
like we want to win in that moment or get it done or find the solution, but I really appreciate you dropping in there. There's always going to be that opportunity to have that conversation later on. So can we put it pause now? Can we go to the calming corner? Can we take our deep breaths and then move
Mhm.
forward from a more regulated space? And it's
Yeah.
simple, but that's what this podcast is really all about, just being able to drop in these simple solutions that can easily be integrated into our life and start to make big changes. So I really appreciate your time today. I feel like we could go on, and I want to continue like picking your brain. Maybe we'll have a part two with Dr. Roberts here, because truly I can just tell how tapped in, how this is your life's work, and how
Yeah.
knowledgeable you are around this from your experience as a parent, but also from your educational background. So just deeply thankful for you and your time here today. Is there one last tip or or idea that you want to share with parents? Maybe one thing that could make all of these things easier that we've discussed today.
So, um, your parents, you're your child's first relationship. And all the research says you're the most important relationship that they could possibly ever have. And so, um, you don't have to be perfect to be amazing
Mm,
as a parent. And so your consistency, your predictability, your willingness to be vulnerable and say, mommy needs to say I'm sorry. I that or could mommy have a do-over and say that in a better way,
mm,
and model for our kids, and then have the courage to be there to walk alongside them when life gets hard, that you don't shelter them from all the bumps in the road because they need your guidance early to
mm.
know how to navigate bumps so that they can build that resilience. So I would just say, you're amazing. Keep doing what
Mhm.
you're doing and add maybe some tips and tricks along the way. Um, and you're the most important relationship for your kid.
Yeah, beautifully, beautifully put, Jennifer. Thank you so much for dropping that in there. Um, what a beautiful way to drop off this conversation today. Thank you again for your time and your energy and your knowledge, for sharing that with us today. Thank you, everybody who's tuned into this conversation. I hope you find it helpful. If you want to get in touch with Dr. Roberts, are there places people can go to reach out or ask questions?
Sure. So actually, it's not a website yet, but I will share my email with them. It's Jennifer@jwroberts.com. Please feel free to reach out, and I'm happy to support you any way I can.
Awesome. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. Hit like, hit subscribe, stay in tune. And Dr. Roberts, thank you again for today.
My pleasure.